Charles coming? I'm looking for someone to light the. Is it me? I can do that. Okay.
It is the female.
We are, yes. I'm the mother of the household tonight. For those of you who have not met me via email or in person, my name is Emmerich Hart. Can everyone hear me okay? I am the education coordinator here at Temple Shalom. Ordinarily, you would have the pleasure of listening to Rabbi Jay Sherwood here on the Bima, and he's in Israel. His daughter is doing a semester abroad, so they had the opportunity to go for Parents' Week, and that's where they are. So I apologize for it not being the official rabbi, but I'm probably, as I like to say, I'm probably more of an educator than a rabbi. So you might hear some educational material tonight too. Hey, Judy. We begin our Shabbat service by lighting the Shabbat candles. Judy, I don't know if you got my email. Would you light the Shabbat candles? Thank you. For those of you following along in the book, page 128, or 121. There we go. 121. Amen. Thank you, Judy. So being that this is a lay-led service, it'll probably feel a little different than what you would normally encounter on a Friday night. But I'm going to do the best I can to keep it in the same sequence and with very similar flow. For those of you who are congregants here, we have some visitors from college, UCCS, am I correct? Who are going to be here participating with us tonight. So we welcome them warmly. Welcome all of our congregants that are here today, and welcome all of our congregants who are joining us online. I'm going to front load the service a little bit with a mini sermon. The Torah is read in the Jewish tradition a little bit at a time every week with an assigned reading, and in the course of 3 years, we complete reading the entire Torah. And then we start over. The parsha, or the portion that was assigned to tonight and tomorrow morning, is called Tazria Metzorah. It comes from the book of Numbers, and it is a very detailed medical journal, I would say, of how to deal with pestilence, including pandemic, mostly scabs and hairy moles and other kinds of skin issues, but there's an entire section about childbirth, and there's an entire section about contagion. As you can notice, probably there's a pretty small showing here in the building tonight. We still are navigating our way back to in-person services, working with our board to try to get the appropriate guidelines. Oh, and our board president's here tonight, so we are working toward being more confident in attending in person again. There's a large contingent that attends services online still. So I thought it was interesting that tonight of all nights we're discussing separating ourselves from community if we're experiencing a contagion. So without further ado, again, I'm Emerich Hart. I'm the education coordinator here, and I'm still nervous when I get up here, so you'll see me probably exhibiting some of that nervousness. All right. And this is for me more than for you. Maya Hayom, Shabbat Shalom. I think page 28. Maya Hayom, Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat, Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat, Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat, Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom, everyone. All right, page 130 and 131. You'll notice as well that in our prayer book for Friday night, the prayers are listed in Hebrew, they're listed in English, and they're also listed in a peculiar thing called transliteration. Transliteration is where we use English symbols and letters to represent the sounds that are in the Hebrew words. So if you're using the transliteration, you're reasonably close to the Hebrew prayer. So, this prayer goes like this. Lehu neranena, lehu neranena, lehu neranena, ladonai. Lehu neranena, lehu neranena, lehu neranena, ladonai. Naria, naria, letzur yishenu, nekadma fanav betoda. Naria, naria, letzur yishenu, bizmirot naria lo. Lehu neranena, lehu neranena, lehu neranena, ladonai. Lehu neranena, lehu neranena, lehu neranena, ladonai. In God's hand are the depths of the sea, the peaks of the mountains are God's. God's is the sea, God made it. And the land which God's hands fashioned, come let us bow down and kneel, bend our knee before Adonai our Maker. For Adonai is our God, and we are the people of God, tends the flock in God's care. Oh, if you would but heed God's charge on this day. Okay, please join me on page 133 for Mizmor Shir. Mizmor Shir Liyom HaShabbat, Tov lehodot l'Adonai, Ulezamer l'Shimcha Elyon, Ulezamer l'Shimcha Elyon. I think I'm on the wrong page. Okay. Let's see, page 133. Forgive me, guys, you know I would actually like a volunteer to read the reading in English on page 132. Anybody willing to do that for us? Charlotte? Oh, you want to do? Oh, you got another one. Charlotte, you want to stand up and read it? Thanks. Oh, thanks. Thank you so much. Okay, forgive me for taking my time. I just want to make sure I have the right pages here, and it's not as easy as it looks here. Okay, the next one is page 135. The text is another song of praise. We begin our Shabbat service with praise and with welcoming of the Sabbath. On this one, page 135, third paragraph down, it was something like this. Romemu Adonai Eloheinu vehishtachavu lahar kodsho. Romemu Adonai Eloheinu vehishtachavu lahar kodsho. Ki kadosh Adonai Eloheinu romemu. Ki kadosh Adonai Eloheinu romemu. Romemu Adonai Eloheinu vehishtachavu lahar kodsho. Romemu Adonai Eloheinu vehishtachavu lahar kodsho. The next song we're going to sing is on page 136. I think. Page 137, actually, the last two lines. Adonai oz le'amo yitain. Adonai yivarek et amo v'shalom. Adonai oz le'amo yitain. Adonai yivarek et amo v'shalom. Yai lai lai, this is the easy one part. Yai lai lai, yai lai 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 lai, yai lai lai, yai lai lai, yai lai 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 lai, yai lai lai, yai lai lai lai, yai lai lai, yai lai lai, yai lai lai, yai lai 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 lai. Thank you. You guys have great voices. And it feels good to hear voices from out there. The next song is a kind of a special song. It's on the following page. In the mystical tradition of Judaism, the Sabbath, in addition to being the literal day of rest, is described with the metaphor of a bride. So when you are approaching the Sabbath and entering the Sabbath, you are actually at a wedding, and you're welcoming the Shabbat bride, the Sabbath bride, into the building. We will skip a few verses. You'll probably follow along on the transliteration and see that we're not doing every one. But when we get to the final verse, we stand and we face the door to welcome symbolically the bride of the Sabbath. So. Lehadodi likrat kala, B'nei Shabbat nekabela. 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 Shamor v'sachor b'dibur echad, Hishmiyanu el hamyuchad, Adonai echad, u'shemo echad, Hashem u'tiferet b'yitla, leha dodi, leha dodi likrat kala, penei Shabbat nekabela, leha dodi likrat kala, penei Shabbat nekabela. Likrat Shabbat lechuvenelcha, kim kor habracha, merosh mekedem nesucha, sof ma'aseh b'machshacha tila. Lecha dodi, lecha dodi likrat kala, penei Shabbat nekabela, lecha dodi likrat kala, penei Shabbat nekabela. Top of the next page. Hitoreri, kiva orehu kumi uri, uri, shir daberi, kavod Adonai alaik nigla, leha dodi, leha dodi likrat kala, penei Shabbat nekabela, lecha dodi likrat kala, penei Shabbat nekabela. The last verse. Boi v'shalom ateret ba'ala, gam simcha uzola, toch emunei am segula, boi kala, leha dodi, leha dodi likrat kala, penei Shabbat nekabela, leha dodi likrat kala, penei Shabbat nekabela. You may be seated. A lot of standing and sitting, just like most other traditional religious services. This next song is on page 140. It's a psalm for Shabbat. I'm going to read you the English text first. A song for Shabbat. It is good to praise Adonai, to sing hymns to your name, O Most High, to proclaim your steadfast love at daybreak, your faithfulness each night, with a 10-stringed harp, with voice and lyre together. You have gladdened me by your deeds, Adonai. I shout for joy at your handiwork. How great are your works, Adonai! How very subtle your design. A brute cannot know, a fool cannot understand. The righteous bloom like the date palm, and they thrive like the cedar in Lebanon. Planted in the house of Adonai, they flourish in the courts of our Lord. In old age, they still produce fruit and full of sap and freshness, arresting that Adonai is upright, attesting, my rock in whom there is no wrong. And this song is once again in a minor key. You'll hear some minor key tonight. Mizmor shir liyom hashabbat, tov lehodot ladonai, ulzamer l'shimcha elyon, ulzamer l'shimcha elyon. Lechagid baboker hasdecha, ve'emunatecha balelot, Mizmor shir liyom hashabbat, tov lechodot ladonai, ulzamer l'shimcha elyon, ulzamer l'shimcha elyon. Ki simachtani Adonai befo'alecha, b'ma'aseh yadecha haranein, ma gadlu ma'asecha Adonai, me'od amku mashchotecha. Mizmor shir liyom hashabbat, tov lechodot ladonai, ulzamer l'shimcha elyon, ulzamer l'shimcha elyon, ulzamer l'shimcha elyon. Page 142. Another mystical tradition is the welcoming of angels. Those of you who have studied anything about Kabbalah know that angels are aspects of God, aspects of our deeper selves. And during Shabbat, we welcome those angels to come into the room and be with us. So we're going to sing Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Hasharit. We're welcoming the angels to join us and be with us on Shabbat. Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Hasharet, Malachei Elyon, Mimele, Malachei Hamlachim HaKadosh Baruch, Bohem LeShalom, Malachei HaShalom, Malachei Elyon, Mimele, Malachei Hamlachim HaKadosh Baruch, Baruch Ni LeShalom, Malachei HaShalom, Malachei Elyon, Mimele, Malachei Hamlachim HaKadosh Baruch, Zeitem LeShalom, Malachei HaShalom, Malachei Elyon, Mimele, Malachei Hamlachim HaKadosh Baruch. Thank you. On 144, we're going to sing a prayer known as the Hatzi Kaddish. The Kaddish is recited 3 times in a traditional service, Saturday morning full Torah service. It is kind of an acknowledgement of all the things that we admire and desire of God and from God. Yitgadal v'yikadash shemei Rabbah, Bialma divira hirute v'yamlich malchute, B'chayehon uv'yom echon, Uv'chaye dekol beit Yisrael, Bagala, Bagala, Uv'izman kariv, Ve'imeru, Amen. Yehi Shmei Rabbah mevorach, Le'olam olamei Amaya, Yitbarach, Yitbarach v'yishtabach, V'yitpa'ar v'yromam v'yitnaseh, V'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal, Shemei dekudesho brihu, Leila min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechemata, damiran v'yama v'yimeru. Amen. Robert, would you please lead us in the Barahu? Page 146. Everyone rise, please, and face the ark. Baruch Adonai Adonai, Le'olam va'ed. Baruch Adonai Barak va'ed. You may be seated. Craig, would you do me the honor of reading page 149, the English reading? The second one. Thank you. On page 150, our service moves away from praise and invitation toward expressions of love and appreciation of love. The Ahavat Olam is a prayer that encourages God, pleads with God, requests of God to guard us as we wake up, as we lie down, day and night, to protect us as a loving parent. So page 150. Ahavat Olam Beit Yisrael Amhavta Torah u'mitzvot Hukim u'mishpatim Otanu lemadeta Al kein Adonai Eloheinu V'shochbeinu u'kumeinu Nasiach bechuchecha V'nismach b'divrei Toratecha u'b'mitzvotecha le'olam va'ed Ki heim hayenu Orech yameinu Uvahem nigei yomam velayla Yomam velayla Baruch atah Adonai Ohev Amo Yisrael. Amen. Page 151. As you taught Torah to those whose names I bear, teach me Torah too. Its mystery beckons, yet I struggle with its truth. You mean Torah for me. Did you mean the struggle for me too? Don't let me struggle alone. Help me. Help me to understand, to be wise, to listen, to know. Lead me into the mystery. Baruch atah Adonai Ohev Amo Yisrael. On the page 152, you'll notice that the page looks a little different. This is sort of the central pivotal prayer of the Jewish tradition. It comes from Torah. It defines Torah. It evokes our relationship with God. You'll notice that I'm going to cover my eyes. That's my tradition. Some people don't, but many Jews you'll see during the Shema prayer, we cover our face or our eyes. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Leolam Va'ed. Hear, O Israel, Adonai is our God, Adonai is one. Blessed is God's glorious majesty forever and ever. I'm going to launch right into the next prayer. I encourage you to read to yourselves the translation immediately underneath, and I'm going to ask for some help to read the translation on the opposite page. V'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha b'chol levavcha uv'chol nafshecha uv'chol meodecha v'hayu hadvarim ha'ele asher anochi Yitavaka hayom halevavecha vishinantam levanecha vidibarta bam vishivtecha bevetecha uvletecha vanderech ukshaktecha uvkumecha ukshartam leot al yadecha Ve'hayu letotafot beinenecha uktavtam al mezuzot beitecha uvisharecha leman tizkeru va'asitem ekol mitzvotai item kedoshin Eloheim ani Adonai Eloheim, asher hotzeiti ethem me'eretz Mitzrayim liot lechem lelohim ani Adonai Eloheim. Alec Hart, would you read page 155? Amen. Page 156. I wanted to point out, too, something that I noticed just a little while ago, that the origins of some of these prayers are actually inscribed in the italics in the bottom of the page. So if you ever wonder where these texts come from, they're written on the bottom of the page. This prayer is an acknowledgement of all that God has done for us. It's also an important part of our journey through the Shabbat service. From love, from welcome to love to acknowledgement. This song goes something like this. Emet ve'emunah, emet ve'emunah, emet ve'emunah, kol zot. Ve'kayam aleinu, emet ve'emunah, kol zot. Ki hu Adonai Eloheinu, ve'ein zulato, v'anachnu Yisrael, Yisrael Amo. Emet ve'emunah, emet ve'emunah, emet ve'emunah, kol zot ve'haya aleinu, emet ve'emunah, kol zot. Let's see. Alan, would you mind reading the second prayer on page 157? Thank you. And that was a beautiful lead-in to the next prayer, which is on page 158. It's not really a prayer, it's more of a quotation. Part of what makes Judaism such an interesting faith to participate in is that our calendar is marked by celebrations and moments of awe. This particular moment of awe happens immediately following the crossing of the Red Sea. And we find ourselves on the other side, liberated. You know, the impossible has been done. So this song celebrates that great moment, and we get to relive it every Friday by singing this song. Mi hamocha ba'elim Adonai, mi hamocha Nedar b'kodesh, nora tehilot, o sefele, mi hamocha ba'elim Adonai, mi hamocha nedar b'kodesh, nora tehilot, o sefele, mahuteha ra'u vanecha, bokeh ayam lifnei Moshe u'Miriam, zeli anu ve'amru, Adonai yimlok le'olam va'ed, mi hamocha ba'elim Adonai, mi hamocha nedar b'kodesh, ora tehilot, o sefele, Ve'emar ki fadan anayit Yaakov uvlo midyat yasak mimenu, Baruch atah Adonai gal Yisrael. The next prayer is on page 160. This is a prayer that asks for personal peace, for group peace, for a shelter from everything that is not peace. That's one of my favorite prayers in the liturgy. I'm just going to straight read it. There's so many beautiful tunes. As you could probably tell, that last tune for Mi Chamocha was not from the ancient Israelites. It's a little too contemporary for that. But this one, I'm just going to read the straight words, and I find them so beautiful and comforting. Hashkivenu, Adonai Eloheinu, l'shalom, v'hamidenu shomrenu l'chaim, ufros aleinu sukat shalomecha, v'taknenu beitzah tova milfanecha, v'choshienu laman shmecha, v'hagen ba'adenu, v'haser me aleinu, oyev dever, v'herev, v'ra'av, v'yagon, v'harhech, mimenu avon v'fafesha. Uvtzel kanafecha tastirenu, ki el shomrenu, umatzilenu ata, ki el chanun v'rachum ata, ushmor tzitzenu uvoenu, l'chaim u'shalom, me'ata va'ad olam. Baruch atah Adonai, haparei sukat shalom aleinu, va'al kol amo Yisrael, va'al Yerushalayim. Does anyone like to volunteer to read the second translation on page 161? Please. Amen. Thank you. Okay. This one, some weird things happen sometimes, so be aware. It's a fun one. It means we're like 2/3 of the way to our conclusion of Shabbat service. It's on the top of page 162. I've seen some really rollicking versions of this at camp, so with hand motions and stomping. We're just going to do the Friday night version here. Vishamru v'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat la'asot et ha-Shabbat ledoratam v'rit olam. Vishamru v'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. בני ובני ישראל אותי לעולם, אותי לעולם, אותי לעולם. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. כי ששת ימים עשה אדוני את השמיים ואת הארץ, ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. וביום השביעי שבת ויהי נפש, שבת ויהי נפש, שבת ויהי נפש. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. The people of Israel shall keep Shabbat, observing Shabbat throughout the ages as a covenant for all time. It is a sign for all time between me and the people of Israel. For in 6 days Adonai made heaven and earth, and on the 7th day God ceased from work and was refreshed. Okay, this is the beginning of the serious portion of Shabbat service. On page 164, when we recite this prayer in our Friday night tradition, we begin the prayer, and then we journey into our own personal prayers. So when I ask you to rise, we'll be doing a little introduction, and then you'll be able to add your own prayers to the prayers that are spiraling toward heaven. When you are finished with your personal prayer, have a seat, and when everyone is seated, we'll proceed. Okay. Please rise. Adonai, Sefatai Tifta, Ufi Yagi Tehilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips, that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu, Elohei Avotenu ve'imoteinu, Elohei Avraham, say, page 180, Shalom Mimromav, Hu Yaseh Shalom Aleinu, Ve'al Kol Yisrael, Ve'imru, Ve'imru, Amen. Yaseh Shalom, Yaseh Shalom, Shalom Aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Yaseh Shalom, Yaseh Shalom, Shalom Aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Thank you. May the one who brings peace in the heavens bring peace to all who dwell on earth. Am I correct that it's a Rosh Chodesh? Tomorrow. Okay, so tomorrow, I was going to prank you for April Fool's Day, but actually the Jewish day begins at sundown, so it's really April 2nd today, right now. But we do have some birthdays because the secular month has begun. So we're going to read off the birthdays of our congregation. And then after I read the birthdays, I would actually like our president to say a few words about the Parsha, if he's willing. So let me read the birthday list first. A very happy birthday is extended to these congregants from Temple Shalom: Talia Rothschild, Helen Blue, Thomas Duchen, Suzanne Heim, Annalie Schwartz, Phyllis Stoller, Roberta Hutner, Karen Shapiro, Perry Bach, James Robertson, River Pfeffer, Davis Pfeffer, Howard Kirstel, Austin Land, Veronica Flaxenberg, Louis Dove, David Richmond, Willard Wells, Rita Everett, Elijah Netchert, Michael Sidman, Andrea Wall, Gilad Schwartz, Ivan Zador, Richard Taxman, Mark Rathman, Jacob Humash, Colby, Hannah Kelty, David Zaza, Amanda Weiss, Yariv Ben Naim, my very own Alec Hart, Jacob Garcia, Bruce Ripple, Mark Schwartz, Craig Schaefer, Caroline Cabia, Gabriella Markinson, Caroline Bloom. See, that's a lot of birthdays. Stephen Shook, Richard Shapiro, Anna Goldstein, Jennifer Rubin, and Raymond Cunahan. Oof, what a list. I'm turning it over to you, Robert.
Okay, so I wasn't very prepared for this, but I did manage to read the Parsha because I'm reading Torah tomorrow, so I had to kind of understand what was going on. There's two basic aspects to it. We basically will be reading from three scrolls tomorrow, okay? But the main scroll is Leviticus, and we're dealing with a couple of interesting issues. One is the birth of children, and how a woman, once she gives birth to a child, must segregate herself as being unclean, for a male for 7 days, for a female 14 days. Why 14 days? I still can't understand that. Some kind of inequality between men and women, perhaps? We're not going to go down that road, but the road I do want to go down is the one concerning the second part of the Parsha, which is leprosy. It's really interesting. The priestly class was responsible for inspecting individuals with certain things going on with their bodies, white hair growing from areas that have scab. It's very detailed and not something I really like reading, but it got me to thinking that both of these sections have one thing in common, and that's the idea of pekuach nefesh and being clean. So the idea of pekuach nefesh, for those of you that don't know, it's a core value in Judaism. It means saving a soul. It is our responsibility as a community to see that every member of our community is as safe as possible. Excuse me. And there's a perfect example of it. The idea is the idea of leprosy and the fact that it was such a horrible disease in the time, easily spread, not understanding how it was spread, the fact that it was a biological infection. But more importantly, it is one where once somebody has been identified with leprosy, they are excluded from the community. They cannot come in contact with anybody in the community for fear of spreading this horrible disease. Let's fast forward to the present time. COVID. Okay? Boy, have I heard a lot of noise about COVID as president of this synagogue. Our protocols, some are for, some are against. Wearing masks, some are for, some are against. But I go back to the core value of Pekuach Nefesh and the idea that it's our responsibility to save a soul. So we have to look at the weakest people in our community and take steps and protocols to allow them to participate in services and at the same time be safe. So we spent over a year with masks, requirements for people to be vaccinated to come up and do an aliyah at the bima, all of those things with the core value that was, oh my goodness, very well and very completely discussed in every single board meeting, to the point where we finally came to the point where we feel that we are safe enough now not to be wearing masks. It's great to see everybody's faces, to be able to congregate together. Hopefully the first weekend in May 7th, is our goal to have our first Kiddush and Oneg Shabbat, where we can actually partake of food in the building again without concerns. And as we all know, for Jewish people, the old joke is, they tried to kill us, they weren't successful, let's eat. Okay? Food is very important. So with the new variant that's coming about and the concern about that, trust me, there will be another discussion at the board meeting to make sure that we are keeping everybody safe. We have to look out for those who have immunocompromised systems and what can happen to those folks. So those are the key elements of what we were learning this week. Is we have to take steps to inspect and to deal with our community and to keep everybody safe. I'll turn it back over to you.
Oh, thank you, Robert. In keeping with that, our community is very, I think across the board in every Jewish community, very concerned about our members. And when someone is falling ill, we do what we can to help them, to support them through prayers, support them physically, whatever they need in their healing process. But we call them to mind by name. There are two traditions with that. One is to just read the English name aloud at this particular point in the service. The other is sometimes to invoke the Hebrew name of the person. So we honor the wishes of the people that have given us their names in both ways. So you'll hear names recited in different ways. This is our Misha Barak list for April 1st. Yishav Zaza, Carrie Schillinger, Robert Oppenheim, Carrie Susser, Brian Zabel, Sylvia Chuch, Reuven Ben Tzipora, Stephen Shiro, Chaim Mordechai Ben Shemuel Yisachar, Irene Lambert, Moshe Ben Avraham, Avrum Ben Udul, Avraham Ben Meir, Aryeh Tzvi Ben Menachem Mendel Vechana, Ken Pepper, Stanley Sachs, John Scheck, Lee Miller, Steve Volin, Judy Bauman, Aviva Sarah Bat Bailey, Wanda Frisky, Calvin Waxman, Toby Sulka Bat Bailey Rivka, Dr. Seth McKinney, Evan Burnett, Ellen McIntosh, Yaakov Ben Moshe Halevi, John Redmond Palmer, William Redmond Palmer, Molly Delaney, Marvin Strait, and Beverly Balin. Our prayers go out to each of them. May God be merciful. Yes, more names? Sorry? Thank you. Is there anyone else that you're wanting to call to mind? Judy? Yes, thank you. Anyone else? If you will join me on page 371, the tune that I'm going to sing, the Hebrew in the middle of the page, comes from a woman named Debbie Friedman. She was a very influential woman leader in the Reform Jewish movement. Many of the tunes you've heard tonight originated with her. Mi sheberach avoteinu mekor habraha laimotenu. May the source of strength, who bless the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say, Amen. Mi sheberach imotenu makor habraha lavotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say, Amen. On page 586, there's our next formal prayer. Forgive my page turning. This is a song of praise. Sorry about the paper. This is a song of praise. I'm going to read the English, and then we're going to enchant the Hebrew. Let us now praise the Sovereign of the universe and proclaim the greatness of the Creator, whose unity we are charged to declare, whose realm it is our purpose to uphold. Therefore we bow in awe and thanksgiving before the one who is sovereign over all, the holy and blessed one. Please rise for the Aleinu. Aleinu l'shabeach l'adon hakol, l'tekin l'yotzer b'reshit, shehu sam elkeinu ha'etot, v'lo samanu v'mishpachot hamonam, shehu sam elkeinu kahem, v'gor aleinu v'mishpachot ha'adamah, v'nafnu mori, u'mishachami umori. This next prayer is another recitation of the Kaddish. This one is a little different. On page 312, or no, 598, sorry. Page 598. Another important part of our tradition is to remember those who have left us, left this worldly life and entered the world to come. In our tradition, at the anniversary of the passing of people that we love, we recite their names out loud in synagogue. If you look behind you, there's a series of lighted panels on the wall. Those are the names we're reading tonight, names of people who are remembered by people in our congregation. We also want to call to mind all of the people who have perished in this year and in years past of disease and war. We want to remember what they were for us, what they were for the world, and we want to carry their memory forward. I'm going to recite the names of the people from our congregation. You can call to mind names of people in your life and your tradition. And I'm going to read a short poem, and then I'm going to read the Kaddish prayer. The name of our deceased: Anne Goldberg, Annie Calloway, Elizabeth Hamilton, Mary Ellen Stroop, Sam Ganetsky, Talma Ben Naim Asif, Fanny Pokoloff, Lillian K. Israel, Sandra Brock, Beth Greenberg, Fernanda Rebecca Levy, Gerald Frank Pokoloff, Gerald Mark Rosenberg, Nina Altman, Harry R. Bell, Howard Fielding, Newman Barrows, Shirley Geller, William Berkowitz, Harry Erdonk, Miriam Lenevsky, Ruth Braun, Sylvia Dorothy Freeman, Erwin Rosen, Laura Ginsberg, Sam Diamond. I'm going to read a poem first, and then we'll read the Kaddish. When I die, give what's left of me away to children and old men that wait to die. And if you need to cry, cry for your brother walking the street beside you. And when you need me, put your arms around anyone and give them what you needed to give me. I want to leave you something better than words or sounds. Look for me in the people I've known and loved. And if you cannot give me away, at least let me live in your eyes and not in your mind. You can love me best, by letting hands touch hands, by letting bodies touch bodies, and by letting go of children that need to be free. Love doesn't die, people do. So when all that's left of me is love, give me away. I apologize, I lost my mother in February, so this is pretty fresh. Thank you, Jenny. No, I'm good. Thank you so much. Okay, that's letting arms hold arms. Thank you, Judy. On page 598. Yid Gadal v'Yid Gadash Shemei Rabbah. If you are in mourning, please rise. Bialma divra hirate v'yamlich malhute. B'chayechon uv yomechon uv hayeh dekol beit Yisrael ba'agala uvisman kariv ve'imiru amen. Yehei Shmei Rabbah mivarach u'le'olam u'yamei amaya. Yit barach v'yishtabach v'yit ba'ar v'yit ramam v'yit v'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal Shmei dekudesha brihu. Leila min kol birchata v'shirata. Tushbechata v'nechemata. Damiran bialma v'yimru amen. Yehei shlama rabba min shamaya. L'chaim aleinu v'yokol Yisrael v'yimru amen. Oseh shalom bimromav. Huya aseh shalom. Aleinu v'yokol Yisrael v'yimru amen. May the Spirit of God be with us and all of us in life or in mourning. Amen. Robert is going to join us again. He's going to read our announcements for our community. Thanks, Robert.
Shabbat Shalom, everybody. Thank you for coming, especially all the students and stuff. Ellie, you did a magnificent job, even though you were nervous as heck. You did wonderfully, darling. Thank you for leading us tonight.
Thank you.
We, again, welcome to our visitors, Dr. Eric Hansen's World Religions class at UCCS. He's been here several times with students. Don't forget our 4th and 5th grade project of donating cat and dog food, pet toys, pet beds, everything related to pets to the Humane Society of the Pikes Peak region. Bring it here to the temple to donate, please. Yom HaShoah yellow candles are available in the foyer. Light your candle the evening of Wednesday, April 27th. Facing the challenges of anti-Semitism with ADL Mountain